So like I mentioned in a previous video, detachment is key in reference to why I do what I do, specifically with this channel, and in reference to the rest of my life for the most part. This is an experience, and in an experience, there's at least two things that are going on. There's the experiencer and then the experience. To differentiate between two, for example, when you dream, you're having a dream experience. When you're awake, you're having an awakened experience. And in both of those experiences, you are the experiencer. So to be consumed by any one of those things, either to be consumed by the experience or to be consumed by the experiencer, is going to limit your experience overall. And to keep from being consumed by either the being the experiencer or the experience itself, you have to have a certain level of detachment. In order to have a certain level of detachment, you have to know what is attached and what to be detached from. Part of the awareness, which is part of why I do what I do on this channel, is to help people become aware of what to be detached from and what not to be attached to. Because those are two different things in reference to the experience and the experiencer. It's easy to become attached to the experience. It's even easier to be attached to the experiencer. And these are the two things that the system uses heavily to control individuals and the masses overall. And why specifically I've chosen to get involved in that relationship between the experience and the experiencer is because I've been in dreams where I've realized that the common theme is for the experience to trap the experiencer within that experience. It's in the code, it's in the design. The intelligence of the dream is to maintain the focus. And the challenge of the experiencer is to break being consumed by the experience. And in that breaking, the only way you can break an experience or a dream is through an awareness of who and what you are, awareness of the realm that you're in, and the relationship between the two. And once you can do that, for example, in dreams, you can fly. You can manipulate the experience in ways that you couldn't before. So if you're trapped in something, you can manifest something that will release you from that trap in a dream. The same rules apply in reference to that in the waking space. The experience is designed to trap you in various codes, the experience and the experiencer. There's so many different ways that you can be trapped. You can be trapped in the ego, you can be trapped in the body. People can argue those are two of the same things. You could be trapped in an artificial awakening, an artificial awareness. You can be trapped in fear. You can be trapped in love. You can be trapped in success. All of these are different traps that, from one perspective, can be seen as traps if you're looking at it from being detached from the experiencer. Because ultimately, this is not who you are. You are not the person that this experience has developed. This is part of that trap when you pass on and they say, have you done this and this and this and this? Well, who is I? Who are you saying that I am? Am I limited to this experience? Absolutely not. If you assume that, it's just like an officer asking you for your driver's license. You assume that straw man. You assume that living dead entity. And once you assume that position, they control you. Same happens with like the micro and the macro. If that happens down here, that happens in the larger scale. So when the officers of the transitional space ask you about your experience and you assume that position, then did you learn? Did you become aware? Or did you become entrapped in that experience? And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be seen as like a trap, Because if you're enjoying your experience, like I said, you can be trapped in fear, you can be trapped in love, you can be trapped in the ego, success, whatever it is. If you're enjoying that and you genuinely assume, first of all, that you're the experiencer, and then you want that experience, I mean, who's to say otherwise? That's your choice. You are now in control, as far as you're concerned, of that experience as the experiencer. That's your world. That's your universe. That's your creation. Some people might see it as a limitation, but that's theirs. And they will continue to live in that experience for as long as they choose to. Are they supposed to do anything else? No. Who are you to say that they're supposed to do anything else? This is where the artificial awakening, the forcing of things, the commercialization of the enlightenment reality comes from. This is where the spiritual ego develops. When people walk around on their high horse, like they're awakened, they're enlightened, and you people are just like little simple automatons. You're just like, you're different than me. Like, I've awakened. Ha ha ha. Like, what the fuck? It's sick. There's no difference between an enlightened, like that so-called enlightened spiritual ego, and somebody who's walking around with the American dream ego, the success of being at the top of the game of this physical experience. There's no difference there. So to remain detached with a certain level of awareness, just like a dream, it's that balance between the two. If you become too lucid in a dream, you'll break the dream and you'll wake up. But if you want to fly longer, you have to have a grasp of both worlds. You have to know how to play in that space, because it's a matter of being grounded, but at the same time being detached from what you're grounded to. For example, in a dream where I become lucid, you have to reach a certain point of lucidity, but also engage in the dream enough to allow the dream realm to stay within your focus. If you pay attention to too much of the details that are off of so-called reality, then that is your conscious space coming into the subconscious dream realm, and it will eventually take over, because the experiencer has the ability to break the experience through how they perceive the experience. So you have to, in that space, when you're becoming aware, when you're becoming lucid, if you want to fly, you have to remain engaged within the experience to some degree. But like somebody sitting in the back seat or something like that, you're letting the dream experiencer drive the car, but you are giving the directions. Your awareness of both the dream and the waking space is giving the directions. You're holding the map. And this is a way that I've found that you can become aware, you can remain detached with the awareness and still be able to experience and move through this experience without being trapped. Because like I said, ultimately this experience is nothing different than a dream. That's different than saying this is a dream. I'm saying compared to a dream, this experience is nothing different than a dream. It's a blip. Your birth to death doesn't exist in the idea of time, because the idea of time doesn't exist in your experience of infinity. So this blip is very much easily compared to a dream, because just like a dream, when you wake up, no matter how much you remember that dream, it will fade. You can write it down, you can record it, you can revisit it as much as you want. But as far as being actually engaged in your reality, your waking reality, it will fade. So this ongoing dream with an asterisk, the waking space, is an experience. There is some kind of intention here. And your focus was not only part of that awareness pre this experience, it's a part of it right now. So if that's the case, as far as I'm concerned, in reference to, like I said, why I do what I do, not just on this channel, but in life, then I'm going to make the most, what I see is the most of this experience. Just as in a dream space, I want to make the most of those dreams. When I go into dreams, before I go to sleep, my intention is to go as hard, go as far as I can in that space. If it's time for me to become lucid, I'll become lucid. And when I'm in that lucid space, I'm trying to fly. If it's not about flying and I want to be engaged in that experience, then, like I've said in previous videos, I've spoken to dream characters and been so lucid in dreams that I've explained the dream realm to dream characters, short-circuiting dream characters, where they were talking to me, and then all of a sudden I just become lucid and they say, you're a dream character, right? This is a dream. And then they just stop, they freeze, and everything freezes because you become the only living thing in that space. You have taken over the experience as the experiencer. So if that character kept talking, it would be like talking to yourself, like somebody talking to their self. And each time I do something like that, I feel different. I've woken up from dreams where I've done stuff that I've never done before in a dream and felt new, felt like I've unlocked something. And this has happened on more than one occasion. Like I said, there was a time where I didn't know that I could talk to dream characters about the dream realm and short circuit. I didn't know that. But now that I've not only become aware of it, but having done it and then woken up and then seen everything connected to that, be the ability to do that, it changes you. It changes your relationship to the dream space. Like, you now have more access in the dream space. So you are in effect changing the experience, because in order for you to remain in dreams after having done something like that, the experience itself, or your relationship, how you're engaging in the dream, has to change. So part of you, the experiencer, and the experience has to, for lack of a better word, evolve. And this so-called evolution is part of all experiences. From my perspective, and just mirroring this experience, a young child compared to an adult, compared to an elder, you can see the progression in awareness, in intelligence. Now, is that intelligence not there as a child? No, but the awareness of their relationship with this experience is not there, because they haven't experienced it through this dream, this time. So there's some kind of importance, there's some kind of gems, there's some kind of purpose to this evolution of your consciousness through this experience. Not saying it's to some place, like to some, like, achieve, like you've achieved the final level, ding ding ding, and all these bells and whistles go off. No, that's the commercialization of it, because how boring would that be? It has to be more complex. It has to be based upon each and every individual. If it was just like some jackpot of enlightenment that you pick up because you've read all the right books and done all the right things, then that would be terrible. It'd be fucking annoying. It's too simple. And like I said, it's the commercialization. That's why I go so hard on the so-called new age community and the spiritual ego, is because that perspective inherently commercializes the uncommercializable, in that you're just making a dream within a dream, a trap within a trap. And that's no different than somebody being super proud of being successful within the American dream. Instead of having all the money in the world and all the cars and all the jewelry and the houses and even the family and all that stuff, instead of all that, you have all the crystals and all the spiritual information. You have all the awakening coins, awakening dollar bills in the bank. and you're better than everybody else. You got a better car. You have a better spiritual car. And then in that space, you just do the same thing that other people, successful people do. What happens with these successful people? Oh, they get a new car. They get a new paint job. They buy a new house. They get a boat. They get a jet ski. It's no different than different forms of people who keep running through different styles of meditation and crystals and gurus and spiritual teachers. It's the same thing. They're just getting new paint jobs on the same bucket ass illusion. And that's why I said it's so important to remain aware of the detachment, because buying into that space, commercializing the awakening, the experience, the word itself, awakening, people are telling you, welcome you enlightened beings, you awakened souls, all that shit. That's commercializing something that's uncommercializable. If that's the case, it's a trap. It's creating a space of artificiality. It's creating another dream, a dream that you're telling yourself. It's solidifying the experiencer and the experience. First of all, that this is some place where you become awakened, like it's a location to achieve, like internally or externally, whatever you think it is. And second of all, it's solidifying you as the experiencer in that experience, doing that thing, whatever that thing is. So in the end, you end up worshiping the physical, because the physical is what has allowed you to attain this unattainable space of enlightenment and awakening. If you didn't have the physical, you wouldn't be able to do that. So what happens when you are asked in the next space about that experience? No different than the person who says they got all successful with their cars and their houses and stuff. Oh, you got all successful with your awakening? Oh, good job. Back to the books. Back at it. There you go. Oh, that was you. You did that. You achieved enlightenment. You achieved awakening. You did it. What do you look like? What did you do to achieve that awakening experience? What did you see how it's a solidifying of you as you have, in order to take on that role, you say you did this. Where? In this experience. How? As this experiencer. Both traps. Do you want to do that again? And then they just say, you're like, yeah, I want to do that. Do you you want to make it more difficult? Oh yeah. And so they put you in a more difficult experience, but you're just in the same space, because it's about being detached. So you go back into the idea of the awakening process, the enlightenment experience. It'll just be more difficult, and it'll be labeled the next dimension. Welcome to the 80th dimension. You did it in the last experience. Here's pictures of you doing it. And you go back into the experience and end up in the same space. Obviously, you don't remember any of it, and then you do it all over again. You come out the other side there. How was it? Did you do it? Do what? Me who? Okay, get out of here. No, I did it. I achieved awakening. I was enlightened. I followed all these gurus, and I used to wear crystals, and I meditated every day, and I achieved. I did it. You did? Okay, well, have a good time. Doing it in the 8th dimension. Ha ha ha. Yeah, they just like numbers and stuff. You just tell them whatever kind of number it is. 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th dimension. Oh, who gives a shit? Tell them whatever it is. Just let them think that they're in one place, and then tell them that they're going to another place, and they'll believe it. Sound familiar? Sound like the evolution of humanity from monkeys to Tesla and not flying cars and all this other bullshit that's going on? The third world countries to the first world, the land of the free, the new world. You're going somewhere. They're giving you these dreams, selling you dreams, literally They call it the American dream. So like I said, part of why I do what I do outside, like the first video was to explain, for the most part, the weapons and the tactics that are used, the obvious ones for the first part of the series of this Why I Do What I Do collection. The weapons and tactics were the obvious stuff. But like I'm explaining in this video, this stuff is not so obvious. And it's not limited. Why I Do What I Do is not limited to weapons and tactics. Exposing what that is, it's more complex than that. But the intricacies of those weapons and some of those tactics, this is more like the non-physical stuff that's out there. You have the physical traps of black and white, the system of racism, white supremacy, the psychological traps that are out there that are running rampant. They're out there to keep you in the illusion, keep you in that dream. People are in the dream that they are not even human. They're 3/5 of a human. They're not able to achieve what so-called white people achieve in society. That's a nightmare. They're selling certain people dreams and selling other people not nightmares. There's a difference there. In that privileged space, you're getting sold dreams. But when you're in survival mode, you're getting sold, at best, not nightmares, because you can only go so far. So so-called successful, so-called black people in these artificial realities, they're not successful because they, as people, are still not even seen as at all as high as the so-called lowest white person. In certain circles, no matter how rich, no matter how successful you are, you still just a dusty ass 3/5 of a human being. And you'll always be that. In one realm, in one perspective, that's it. So achieving anything in that space, because they have controlled the experience around the world. The system of racism and white supremacy isn't just in the United States. It's people in the Caribbean, it's people in Asia, people in Africa, people in South America, bleaching their skin, dyeing their hair, getting plastic surgery to look like the individual that can achieve those dreams. That's some deep magic. Those are some deep traps of sucking you into a particular experience. And what they're doing when they're changing their hair, changing their faces, changing their skin, changing their voices, changing their interaction in the world, their jobs, the way they look, their cars, where they live, when they're doing that, they're never able to achieve that dream. The dream that they achieve is existing as an illusion in their own experience, in the experience of the mind of the experiencer. But in reality, in their driver's seat, like I said, they're in the back seat with the map. But their reality, they know in the back of their mind, they're just avoiding nightmares. And at least they're in that space of realizing that they're in a not nightmare. And other people are in flowery, successful dreams, because there's another realm of people who don't even aware that there is a dream realm. They don't know that they're so trapped in the idea of themselves or the idea of the experience. What other traps that are out there? Because the system of racism and white supremacy is just one kind of trap. Some people are so trapped underneath the foundation of that trap, they're not even aware of who and what they are in the illusion. So if you're trapped outside of the awareness of the illusion, you're 2 steps at least away from being detached from that illusion. So this is why the system uses racism and all these other very shallow, artificial traps so heavily, because it's keeping you at least 2 heavy steps away from becoming detached from the experience and the experiential space overall. Because that's where the true power comes from. That's where the true letting go of fear comes from. And fear being one of the biggest weapons and tactics of this experience, they can't let that go. They can't let you leave that space. Because when you don't even realize that you're in an illusion, you're vulnerable. And that vulnerability, the control within that vulnerable space is fear, survival. Then you buy into the illusion And the illusion gives you some little kickbacks for dedicating your time. You do the 9 to 5, you go to college, you do all that stuff. And some of that fear dissipates because your survival needs are provided for to some degree. But you have to buy into that space in order to be separated from that survival space to some degree. And that's that in-between space that people are held in. These are your successful African Americans. African American studies. I have a PhD in African American studies. I'm a tenured professor at UC Berkeley and whatever else the hell the system has approved for these illusions, these lies, these history books, doubling down. It's no different that underneath the foundation of illusion shit is just the same as calling yourself an African American. 2 continents. The only people calling themselves 2 continents. I'm an African American. The fuck is that? Not even at all connected to the awareness of being an American Indian, an indigenous American. No, not even aware of that. And a double trap is the Pan-African shit. I'm a Pan-African. Pan-Africanism. I'm the Prince of Pan-Africa. And you see how far this shit goes? The Prince of Pan-Africanism? Holy shit. That's some deep, deep ass illusion shit there. And you have people following these teachers, these princes, this illusion, the royalty of illusion. I'm the Prince of Pan-Africa. Okay, congratulations on that. So you can see where I'm coming from in reference to the separation of awareness. And like I said, there's a natural growth of awareness through the basic experience. Like I said, from a child to an adult to an elder. And the more you get trapped in these illusions, these exits off the superhighway of, expanding your wisdom, your awareness, when you get off that freeway, it's just another way of anchoring you more and more into the attachment, whatever level that you've chosen to attach to. And that weight starts to build up. And eventually it will just run out. Your time in this experience will just run out, and then it'll just be like, okay, well, what happened? What did you do? And you'll have whatever you had up to the point of getting off that freeway as your ability to plead your case in reference to the weight of this experience, the weight that you've assumed in this experience as the experiencer. See those 3 levels again? Like, how'd you do in the experience? Oh, I did well. I was a professor. And okay, you're trapped in that. Like, where should I put you next? Oh, you were the experiencer that achieved awakening. Oh, great. Good job. You just put in the same level and just redo it again. Like I said, if you just detach from that, realize what those questions really mean. But you can't realize that if you have so many attachments, because the attachments become you. They become your reference points, and your reference points become a conglomerate of who you are. They're asking you who and what you are. Were you the experience? Oh, the people who are trapped in fear, who die in fear, are trapped in those lower, underneath the foundation spaces are there. That's where the emotion comes out. When they ask, oh, how was your experience, sir? Oh, I had a rough time down there. I did my best. These are your elders of today. I did my best. I provided for my family. I started out rough. I didn't have anything. My parents, they grew up having nothing. And I made it. I decided to do different. I wanted to provide for my kids. So I worked hard every day of my life. And I made sure that they went to church and they had a relationship with God. Like, oh, you did? So you had a rough time down there, huh? Oh, okay. It's just like 4 or 5 levels down deep in the crevices of that experience. And that's where the emotion is. This is why the experience wants to keep people so emotional, because it maintains that broad spectrum trap approach to everybody's ability to experience this reality. It's just like trigger. This is what movies are. Music. Listen to music. Just like Hollywood is inundated with horror films and action films. It's all about death and blood and gore. And the music is the same way. It's just, instead of death and blood and gore, it's emotion. Everything is about, I lost my love. I lost this. I'm crying. Like, so this, I'm so angry. Put a ring on it. Like, all this shit. That's the death. That's the blood. That's the gore of emotions, anchoring you into the foundation of the death, the body, the blood, and the gore. So yeah, music just triggers the same thing that movies do. They just do it in like the love arena. Love is like the heaviest thing that people buy into within the emotional body. And it's really about you feeling, like how you feel, tapping into your emotions. But with movies, they got your eyes too. And they can trigger you, double down on your emotions, because you're interpreting that experience, but you're also seeing it too. You're visualizing it. So this is why movies go so hard, because in seeing that blood and seeing that gore and seeing your superheroes die and your people that you relate to on movies, that you look, maybe you even look like some of these people when they pass on, and it visually gets inside of you because it's another input that you have. And then you take that stuff into your dream space and then anchor it even deeper into your experience through your dreams, because you have the emotion, you have the visual cues, and then they start recreating your dreams to anchor you even deeper. This is why when you go to sleep and you have dreams about work, that's the worst shit. Being at work, it's the worst. So the trap, one of the biggest traps, is to, like I said, keep you deeper and deeper in the illusions. Why I do what I do is to keep people from getting consumed by those traps. And I do that by sharing how I've broken out of a lot of these traps and becoming aware of the evolution of these traps. Being trapped in the idea of protesting the system was a trap that people live and die in. Being trapped in the new age spiritual ego, the new age spiritual awakening, enlightment space, that whole reality. It's the same thing. It's a trap. And in those traps, they have their own intricacies, because it's not just like that's it and that's it. No, it's that's it. And you have the experiencer's relationship with that experience. Protesting the system is the experience. You're a different experiencer. You're a different person in that experience. How is that made up? Same thing goes for the experience of the enlightenment, awakening trap. You have a certain experiencer that has been through certain experiences engaging in that experience. And how does that work? It can take years and years and years to realize that. It's taken me that. And this channel, like I said, why I do what I do, why I communicate and share this information on this channel, is because there were certain people that helped me become aware of those illusions, become aware of those traps. And I'm aware of the benefit of having that. And like I said in the last video, part of my gift is to be able to translate these perspectives to people the way I would have liked to have them translated. So a good way, in closing, a good way to see this is to become aware of the commercialization, for lack of a better word, of the experience and the experiencer. If there's any kind of commercialization, awakening, enlightenment, that's a commercialization of what? Just the basic evolution of your awareness in this experience, from a child to an adult to an elder. Not only that, the kicker is that becoming awakened, becoming enlightened creates an end game. It creates a location that you get to. Is there something that you can get to? That's an illusion. It's a commercialization of garbage of a trap. It works so much because it taps all the key nodules that the system of mind control traps. It's the same way. Taps into your emotion, taps into your intelligence, taps into your awareness, taps into your so-called evolution, taps into breaking the survival mode and all that stuff, and taps into your relationship between birth and death. All of that's in the awakening enlightenment commercial. So it's easy to buy into. But the kicker, like I said, it creates this end game. It creates like oh, you've done it. Good job. Welcome. Welcome to the crew. Have a seat. Don't do anything else. Just keep convincing yourself, keep reading these books, keep listening to these gurus, keep maintaining that space that you are awakened, you are enlightened, and you'll be a part of this crew. If you break out of that, you will no longer be a part of the crew. If you start engaging in the experience in any other way other than that, outside of the so-called new age, for example, then you'll be ostracized. This is why when you talk about the system of racism and white supremacy, they immediately label you as low energy. Because now you, as an enlightened being, exist in this world as an energetic being. And I am high energy. Look at me. Look at my suit, bitch. I am highly vibrating. You, in your little peasant low vibrating clothes, you're not even on my level. Ha! Look at all these crystals. You don't even know what a crystal singing bowl is. Do you even meditate, peasant? You conscious peasant? Get out of my face. You're bringing down my energy. So that's an example of commercializing awareness, for lack of a better word. In the more mainstream reality, so-called like wisdom has been the evolution through the child to the adult to the elder. Even that has been commercialized. And like I said, when you commercialize it, you artificialize it and it loses all of its essence. So this is why today you can have old people, just old people. They don't need wisdom anymore. Just being old is good enough. They don't even have to be, they're accepted. And there's such a wide range of ignorance that's out there that's accepted within these older generations because the system has no wisdom. So it has no reason, the elders have no reason to have wisdom in a wisdomless system. An experiencer has no reason to have wisdom in a wisdomless experience. So what's left to worship, to cherish after the wisdom is gone? The essence, the core of why, the natural progression of intelligence and awareness from child to adult to elder, what's left? Worship the body. Just worship being old. They don't worry about it. They're just old. It's all right. They all these old ways. Like they said in that Don't Look Up movie when that dude was saying all that racist shit, and they said, "Oh, they just pushed it to the side. Oh, it was a different generation back then." They laugh about that shit now. That's how they downplay it. Oh yeah, it was a different generation. That's another way of just downplaying the shit like Joe Biden said, and any other old white man that they put in the offices up there. Oh, it's a different generation. But they're the ones that are equipped. They're the leaders. They're the ones that we should trust. So wisdom has been commercialized and replaced with just being old, just staying alive, surviving, instead of evolving your consciousness beyond this experience, preparing you for beyond this experience. The worshiping and the surviving within this experience has become the norm. So this is why in this world of artificiality, where wisdom isn't needed, the goal just becomes getting old. This is why you have everybody so focused on the body. Work out, eat right. Just don't die from being unhealthy. There's zero focus on expanding your awareness, zero focus on wisdom. Look at all your social media. If you're young, it's about having muscles, titties, ass. If you're older, being successful, repairing your credit, like all that shit. Like, that's it. Wisdom, fuck all that. You don't need that. What's that? You ain't gonna make no money off that. Wisdom. It's because wisdom, there's none of that in the world of artificiality. So in that world where you're just getting old and hoping to get old, be healthy and old, because you got a lot of healthy ass old people out there. Great, good for you. Great job. Hey, that's wonderful. You look great. You're 75, you look 40. Wonderful. Ain't got a brain cell in their whole fucking not within a 10-mile radius of them, of that healthy ass body. Fine ass body, dead ass soul. Like dead skin with a heartbeat. That's what it is. Just a pump. Like they tell you the heart is just a blood pump. That's all the experience becomes. You're just a skin suit pumping blood around. Just like a battery pumping energy. And this is the intent of this experience, because the more hollowed out you are, the harder it is for you to become lucid, because there's nothing to grab onto. There's no substance there. If the only thing that you have to grab onto is physical, and the physical is obviously an illusion. In a world of non-physical, if the physical is all that you have, there's nothing for you to grab onto. So you're empty. You're hollowed out. And when you're empty and hollowed out, you become insecure. You become fearful. Fear starts to develop even more because you're empty. You have to rely on somebody else or something else to fill you up. This is why the system plays mommy and daddy for you. They provide everything for you, playing like they're protecting you by waging war on all these other countries. Oh, we'll do it. We'll protect you. We'll protect your little system. We just gotta bomb a few of these kids over here, you know. We won't tell you about it. And then they tell you, oh, we can't tell you certain things. And even when they tell you, they want to tell you certain shit at a certain time, like with that JFK file shit. Oh, we'll release the files in 75 years. In 75 years come around, oh, we'll release the files in 25 more years. What the fuck? Just moving the goalposts constantly. And they'll move it as far as the consciousness of the masses will allow it. And you'll allow more when you're hollowed out more. When you're dumb, you just allow the dumbest people to be in charge of you. This is why the education system sucks and just tells you lies, broken history. Everything's based on theories, make-believe ass theories, sold to you as facts. So in that lacking of substance, beyond the physical, you, like I said, you fear the physical. You start to worship the physical to distract you from the fear. Building up your physical body to make it feel like you're strong, but non-physically, your bones are weak, you ain't got no muscles, you're hella unhealthy, you got no non-physical health. It's just, you got non-physical diabetes, non-physical cancer, non-physical heart conditions, non-physical broken ass legs, your hair's all fucked up, your skin's all fucked, all this shit. Non-physical shit's all just crazy. But your physical body, peak condition. This is why people in the gym all the time, empty ass people, just dumb. I would dumb as a box of rocks. And George Carlin said, dumber than a second coat of paint. Dumb, just dumb. D-U-M, dumb. Not even the right way, just dumb. And then when that runs out, when they find themselves no longer feeling any kind of full artificial fullness from worshiping the physical, constantly going to the gym and constantly getting the reinforcement from the people on social media, then people want to go get some artificial internal, because the artificial external is the physical, but the artificial internal is what? This dumbass education system. So the people go into college thinking they're getting some kind of full. This is why people, when they get all the degrees in the world, zero fullness. Accomplishment with an expiration date. Because when they start realizing that their so-called accomplishments through that lying ass education system, when they realize what that system is connected to, what it's all about, they're less than empty now because they can't get that time back. Years and years and years in school, dedicating. And not only that, not only can they not get that time back, but they spent those years in school and after school holding themselves over other people, egotistically, feeling like they're better than other people, when in fact they just wasted years of their lives for an illusion, filling their holes in their reality, their emptiness with more illusions, with the books of the system. This is why the system needs education. This is why, speaking about challenging the heliocentric model, what they cherish so much, the Big Bang Theory, the theory of gravity, the heliocentric universe, like when you challenge all of that stuff, it's a huge threat because you're tapping into the emptiness machines that are out there. Once you start disassembling the empty machines, you start to become a threat. And this is why, part of the reason why I do what I do is because there's so many obvious machines of emptiness that are out there. And it's just about tweaking the way that you see it. Like it doesn't take much to become detached from that which used to be who and what you are. It's just a matter of how you're perceiving it. So they empty you, they hollow you out, leave you in the teenage mode. This is why you have so many man children out there. They graduate, they call you an adult when you're 18. Your brain isn't even fully developed until you're 25. By that time, you already got 3 kids and already in debt for the rest of your life, 25 years old. So when you cherish the physical, you just leave the wisdom to the books and an old age. Oh, you don't need that anymore. You need to read books. We got social media now. I have a social media following. You don't need to think. You don't need to have wisdom. You have a blue check mark next to your name. That's all you need. Just like these Hollywood actors out there. You talk to them, empty, empty as can be. Twice empty, 3 times empty. But they're successful in the world of emptiness.